Welcome back to the PM edition of Newsfeed. I'm Liesl Wilson. If you've just joined us, we continue with our COVID-19 coverage, where it's been a week since South Africa went under lockdown as a result of the global coronavirus pandemic. This week, South Africans who returned from Wuhan, China, left their quarantine in Limpopo and returned home. But what about those who did not make the flight? Newzroom Afrika's Mnisi takes a look at the story of a young man who was left behind, and we take a look back as well. But from myself, Liesl Wilson, and the team, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it is goodbye for now.
Total cases as of this morning in New York City, 21,873.
COVID-19 has now a foothold in almost every country on Earth. 375,498 confirmed cases today, and over 16,000 deaths in 195 countries.
My fellow South Africans, it is a week since we declared the coronavirus pandemic a national disaster and announced a package of extraordinary measures to combat this grave public health emergency. The response of South African people to this crisis has been remarkable. Millions of our people have understood the gravity of the situation we are in. Most South Africans have accepted the restrictions that have been placed on their freedoms and their lives, and have taken responsibility for changing their behavior. The National Coronavirus Command Council has decided to enforce a nationwide lockdown for 21 days with effect from midnight on Thursday, the 26th of March. This is a decisive measure to save lives of South Africans from infection and save the lives of hundreds of thousands of our people.
Because transport is responsible for the spread of this particular disease, because we transport people in air, in the sea, on the ground. And the first person who was infected came through the airlines in South Africa. So we need to deal with that. And transport is responding to that in the context of the lockdown.
Not all of those who prepared to come home made it onto South African soil.
Everybody who's on site, who's on the plane, has been asked the questions that would actually detect as to whether they are still feeling okay. And from there, if there's anyone who's feeling unwell, that person on site will be isolated. But right now, all of them are okay, according to the reports that we get from our medical staff that is on board, that everybody who's on board is well.
Back in Wuhan, the situation was tense and a full lockdown was underway. The world watched as COVID-19 tightened its grip on China, making the city of Wuhan in the Hubei province the epicenter. In the weeks before the South African evacuation, South Africans living in the Chinese city witnessed various other countries evacuate their members as fears of the virus spreading mounted. The Chinese government tried its best to assure them that staying put would be safer than returning home.
At this moment, to stay where you are is better. Stay in China is safe, because up to today, we have millions of foreigners in China, but only 27 confirmed cases happen there. That means the people, including the students, stay in China is safe. But when they come back, my concern is where they took their public transportation. They don't know who is already in the public, the train or the bus, or even in the airport or the international flight.
A message the South African government initially supported before deciding to retrieve the Wuhan group. In Pretoria, Agrippa Skosana, the father of 22-year-old student Rorisang Skosana, was on the edge as he awaited word on whether his son would be able to return home.
They gave me the contact numbers for Stephen Makwela. We tried to call Stephen Makwela. Unfortunately, we couldn't reach him. Then Rorisang Googled another number, then he found Stephen Makwela. So Stephen Makwela said to Rorisang via that email, said no, they must communicate with email, and then Rorisang must join the embassy WhatsApp. So Rorisang spread the WhatsApp for the guys who are in Wuhan, South African residents. So they did join the WhatsApp, but up until today, nothing has been communicated with them. So nothing has been done for them, and nobody's taking care of them. So now I'm pleading to the government that if they can assist us to bring Rorisang back home, because he told me that quarantining is going to cost them a lot of money, because it's 14 days in the airport. They must pay for themselves at the hotel, of which I don't have that money to pay for the hotel. And then we must pay the flight back to South Africa. And then another 14 days again, quarantine in South Africa again, in the hospital again. So I'm pleading to the government to assist.
And in the letter they detail that the university itself has not been quite involved in assisting them or checking who's infected. I understand he lives in a student residence. Is that the case? What is he saying about that?
Yeah, because the university is the school. Remember, it's the school, and then they have their own citizens that they must take care of. It's not only South African students at Wuhan University of Technology. There are also Chinese students that they must take care of. So each and every country is taking care of its people. So most of the students left Wuhan back to their countries. So our children are stranded.
At the time of President Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address, Skosana thought efforts would be made to return his son and others stuck in Wuhan.
I expected the president will say something about it, but he never said anything.
What did you expect him to say?
No, at least I expected that the president, maybe if he give the evacuation plan that they were going to take them from Wuhan to South Africa, or they will send people who will go there and confirm if they are okay. They say he must stay there. Well, he's staying there, but till when? What's going to happen? Because China is not taking care of them the way they promise. The government, they promise that they will take care of them, but at the end of the day, I have to send money for my son, but no, there's no way, no shops, all the supermarkets are closed. He can't now buy food anymore now. He's still struggling now because mental health is very struggling because he's got stress now. The government is not communicating with them. It's only using their WeChat, but shops are closed now. There's no food supply, there's no water, there's no mask. So if maybe they can do their promise, they said we must be patient. We've been patient enough. So let them repatriate them back to homes and we'll take care of them. For now, they are speaking to via WeChat. They don't know who's dead. They said it's a lady on WeChat. So that lady, she's also frustrated because she said she can't give any further information. The same information that was given before is the same information that she's still giving them. They say they must be patient. Till when? And it's so frustrating because the neighboring countries like Botswana, they send a letter, they are sending money for them. At least they can try to buy whatever, and then they say they will send people for medical and mask for them.
Agrippa spent another few weeks agonizing about his boy, but eventually news came in that those in China's epicenter would be brought home. Just over a week later, the president heeded the growing calls and issued an order to evacuate. Rorisang had a seat on the plane, leaving his father relieved. A South African National Defence Force team would be dispatched to bring him and others home.
And we responded to the calls and the requests from the parents of the young people who are out there and from the young people themselves. And we were duty-bound as a nation, as a country, to go out and bring them home. And this is now the hour and the moment that has arrived for you to take off tonight and go bring them home. The 121 or so people that we are bringing back are all healthy. They are not sick. We need to make that very clear to the entire nation. We are not going to fetch disease-ridden people out of China. We are bringing back our healthy young people whose parents, who are all like us, have said we would like our children to come back.
The mission was underway, but anxiety and fears set in for Agrippa.
I can't say I'm happy. You know, I'm half and half because Rorisang, he must go through an assessment before repatriation. So I'm just hoping that he tested negative, then he will be repatriated to South Africa.
Makhelwane kunjani mfana unjani uzwa njani uzizwa kanjani indaba zangale asitshele ke ukuthi indaba zangale basayifihla fihla zizovela siyajabula ukuzwa ukuthi manje sokunechinga lokuthi bengeza ngapha eSouth Africa so abeze sibabone wonke umuntu obethukiwe ngalabantwana akasukume abahlangabeze and then sazi ukuthi beze kanjani and then bazokuzanini emakhaya ngoba kusazoba namalanga bohlala lapho kuze ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi bababone ukuthi bangabakhulula.
Back in China, Rorisang had already left his students' residence. Chinese authorities made sure that protocol was followed and that they would be screened every step of the way. Everything seemed fine. As the flight landed, South Africans watched a historic moment unfolding on live television. Rorisang would not be in the group leaving this flight. His family would not see him on South African soil. Despite all the preparation, a spiking temperature had led to the student staying in Wuhan.
A woman by the name of Maria, if I think, I don't remember her surname, but Chinese either way. So yeah, she told us that if our temperature is anything over 37.3, then we wouldn't be allowed to even get on the bus. We wouldn't even be allowed to get on the bus, so we should make sure that it's lower than that. and we shall then proceed to the airport. So by our school entrance and exit, there were guards there, and they had their thermometers and everything, and at first they didn't want to let us out because the only paperwork we had was documentation from our own embassy, I think without any correspondence from their bosses and whatnot, so it wasn't enough. So a few calls were made. We were finally let through, temperatures checked. There were 4 of us from that location, 4 of us from Wuhan University of Technology, and yeah, took our temperature. At the time, mine registered as 35.5, but again, these were the digital thermometers, and they just the laser ones just pointed to your head. We then went to the airport. We were at the airport for a good 3 hours maybe, until we checked in, our bags were taken through, and then it was time for us to go through customs, and I was stopped along with, there were a lot of people that were stopped. Actually, there was not the only one. A lot of people got stopped, and the first time they stopped me with a temperature of 37.1. I know this because it was written on a paper which was handed to me to go give to the medical officials, who then proceeded to ask me a whole lot of questions: where I live, where I've been, all of that. Answered all of those truthfully, and then they proceeded by taking our temperature with what's this thermometer called? The one with magnesium. That one, put under your armpit. So checked me the first time, checked me the second time, and the entire time I asked them to tell me what the reading was. They said no, they can't do that. Okay, whatever. And on the and then they told me, we're gonna test you 3 times. If it's high all 3 times, then you can't go. And then on the 3rd time, I was pretty calm, confident that no, I'm sure it'll go down. I was calm. I took off my jacket. I untied my shoes, to cool off, because I was wearing a jacket, I was wearing a hat. Oh, and the gloves that they gave me, that they said these were the biggest gloves they had. I put on these gloves that I couldn't even move my hands in them. And I was wearing a mask, and I was just hot in general. So my best friend, he was on the other side, well, divided by a curtain. He was on the other side, and he had gone through the process a few minutes before me. So with that, we were talking while they were doing their test and everything, and I just heard the lady tell him that, "Hey, bruh, I'm very sorry, you can't leave.
It would be the beginning of another process.
The 3 of us were then put to the side. We were then given a whole lot of gear to watch, to wear, for shoes, to cover our shoes. They gave us new masks, they gave us gloves, they gave us face protection gear. They just put us on display in general. It was so embarrassing walking through there, like everyone was watching us, and at that point we knew that, man, it's over, it's finished. But okay, fine, still a bit hopeful. They took us to a medical facility within the airport, and on the way there we actually passed one of the officials from the embassy in Beijing, if not Shanghai, Mr. Stephen Makwela. But yes, at that point we passed them, and he said to us, "No, relax guys, they're just going to take you down for a few further tests, and you'll come back, you'll get on the plane," right? And at this point I laughed, and I was like, "Why are you laughing?" Like, he just lied to us, we're not going anywhere. And so yeah, we went to that place, that like medical facility. We got there, blood was drawn, swabs, everything, and then the lady just came through, told us that you three guys cannot get on the plane. She told us that they're going to take our luggage off the plane, and unfortunately we can't leave.
According to Rorisang, he was tested again along with his best friend. Their temperatures remained high, and as a result, they remained in Wuhan. After being taken to hospital, Rorisang's temperature decreased, but it was too late. The flight had left. The 22-year-old was put in 14-day quarantine in one of the university's dormitories until his results returned.
Breakfast 11:30, supper at 5:30, but it was a substantial amount of food. It was enough. It was enough. No complaints. And they brought us other things, fruits, milk, name it. It was there, some snacks and whatever. And whatever we needed, we just needed to send a message and pay for it. It wasn't free. We paid for our own water. We didn't have soap, we didn't have lotion, so paid for that as well. And we didn't have money afterwards, so we started borrowing money from people. And actually I had cash. I still have cash. I told them that, I have cash. They refused to take our money. Like, no, can't do that. Send it via the app. But there was no money on the app anymore. So yeah, after the 3 days and our tests came back negative and we told them, then they calmed down. They stopped acting the way they were acting towards us, and everything just kind of mellowed out. And we took it day by day. The classes helped. We were still attending online classes. Those helped. They pushed the time. Otherwise, we'd be going crazy sitting in there, not being able to. Didn't even walk out the door for that 14 days. Didn't walk out the door. I couldn't even talk to my friend, and he was like 2 rooms ahead. We didn't we talk on WhatsApp, send voice notes, make calls, but we didn't even see each other for the whole 14 days. We'd catch a glimpse of each other when we were getting food. They put a chair by our doors, and they leave food on the chair and then knock. And that is what would happen. We could communicate with our families. That was not a problem. The support we received, nothing from the government. I can tell you that. Absolutely nothing. Zero. I even asked them, can they at least help us get our results? Because we asked the Chinese authorities, can we get our results? Can we get it on paper, like something to show that I've been tested and it came back negative? We were like, no, that's not how they do things. Okay, and then I asked our embassy, can you do something about it? They told us that this is a matter of our health and the embassy will not intervene in any way. I'm like, okay, fine, but I'm giving you the permission. Kick it up to the higher ups, higher on your food chain. Like, can I get something that says, I've been tested and cleared?
Rorisang says that was the last time he heard from the South African embassy until he got a message informing him that the city would open again. Out of quarantine now, he's excited to be back in his old room.
Best feeling ever. I've never been so happy to come back to my 4 white walls. But this is my sanctuary. This is very enjoyable. Very happy to be here. But yeah, taking it one day at a time. It was hard. It was hard. There were a few battles while we were in that room. It was okay for the most part. The only time the thoughts really started coming in was, when we were seeing our friends the day they landed. Then, like literally the next day when the plane landed in South Africa, that was hard to watch. And then the food they were eating, it was like, oh man, you should be there. But yeah, it happened the way it happened. We accept it. It's done now. It's done.
He says a member of the Democratic Alliance by the name of Prenishka Naika has been helping him and his friend and has given them some money to set up their lives again. Meanwhile, the Minister of Higher Education and Training says the government has put everything in place to ensure that those who were quarantined at the ranch are reintegrated into society.
The students who returned from Wuhan City completed their 14-day quarantine on Friday. And the Department of Health is working on the modalities for their release home. Our department will be responsible for transporting the students to their respective provinces and to ensure that they are reunited with their families, and we have secured transport on this score. There are also other students who returned from China who were our TVET college students who were there for workplace or for work-based learning experience, about 76 of them, who were arranged mainly by our SETAs, Sector Education and Training Authorities. On their arrival back, they were placed somewhere in Igoruleni for 14 days, and we have assigned some officials from our department to look after them.
International Relations Minister Naledi Pandor said over 1,500 South Africans are in foreign lands, hoping to return home.
What we have found then as the Department of International Relations is that many of our citizens are finding themselves stranded in various countries across the world.